Hi everyone, welcome to StudioJake. I'm your host, Jacob Airy. Be sure to like this video because I've got some really awesome comic book reviews, but before we get into that, don't forget to subscribe and ring that little bell so you actually, get the notifications from the channels you've subscribed to. YouTube is doing this thing now where they're changing their subscription algorithm where you only get certain channels even though you picked it to watch. So complain about this to YouTube because that kind of hurts us small independent channels like StudioJake. So without further ado, we've got some great comic book reviews we're going to get into. So sit back, relax, buckle up because it's time for StudioJake. Okay, we're going to kick it off with a review of the new Justice League series. So, during the New 52, the Justice League got all scrambled, like you would not believe. So you had the Justice League, you had the Justice League International, which was for some reason being led by Booster Gold. You had Justice League Canada. That didn't last long. I think that lasted like 8 issues or something like that because it was pathetic. You had Justice League of America, which at first was led by Steve Trevor, but then Batman took it over. And then, of course, you had Justice League Dark. So the DC Rebirth happens. A lot of that stuff gets canceled. They did have a Justice League of America and Justice League series right after the New 52 ended, but it just never really caught steam. So now they're bringing out the big guns with Justice League #1, New Justice. This comes after the miniseries Justice League No Justice, which I'll have more about that on a different video or on an article on my blog. Anyway. So they brought out the big guns. Scott Snyder is writing this series. That's pretty impressive. And it's got some pretty amazing, here I'll bend down so you can see, you got some pretty amazing artwork. You see the Hall of Justice, which I think is pretty cool that they're bringing back the Hall of Justice. I like the satellite headquarters, but I think the Hall of Justice is pretty cool. So basically in this series, there are shall we say, holes in the multiverse after the events of DC Metals, which you can watch my marathon on where I review all of those. Now, Lex Luthor and Vandal Savage are kind of vying for supremacy among the supervillains. And in the end, spoiler, this isn't the end of the comic book, this is a slight spoiler. Luthor forms the Legion of Doom. So you see we've got Sinestro, Gorilla God, the Joker, Black Manta, and Cheetah. And of course, like I said, Lex Luthor is leading them. So a good group. One thing that I find a little interesting about this series, so when New 52 launched, they did kind of the basic Justice League, except they swapped out Cyborg for Martian Manhunter. Well, here's the new Justice League now. So now other characters are in and out, but this is kind of the core group. So we've got Batman, greatest superhero ever created, The Flash, Superman, Wonder Woman, John Jones, John Stewart, Hawk Woman, and Aquaman and Cyborg. Notice anything? Now, take out Cyborg and Aquaman. What do you notice about these characters? Oh, yeah, they were the founders of the Justice League in the animated series produced by Bruce Timm. A little suspicious. Why would they go back to, instead of going back to basics where you have characters like Black Canary, who was an awesome character, by the way, but instead they go back to the old school Justice League animated series, which is pretty awesome. Justice League Unlimited was a spin-off of Batman and Superman animated series, respectively. Really great series. You should check it out. I think it's on Netflix. So they launched this new series, and like I said, there's holes in the multiverse. Lex Luthor wants to take advantage of them. Of course, the Justice League. They're trying to close those holes, and Jon Stewart isn't featured very prominently in this issue. However, that all changes in issues number 2, which I will review later on. What, did the Batman shirt make you think all these reviews were going to be Batman based? Carrying on, Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man number 306. So, Amazing Fantasy and No More concluded. Now, Spider-Man is back home with his newly discovered sister, Teresa. Jonah Jameson is back. Spider-Man reconnects with the Avengers and Johnny Storm, who, of course, is the Human Torch. And they're still fighting these robotic aliens. Spider-Man has the key to stopping them, but it's taking them some time to get there. So one thing cool about this issue is Daredevil has a role in it. Daredevil is one of my favorite characters in Marvel. So what's happening though is, unfortunately, since Spider-Man and Teresa and J. Jonah have been in the past, the alien robots have kind of taken over, and the Avengers had to put the robotic heroes kind of in a stasis because the aliens were taking over them. This is a great continuation of the series. I would like Chip Zdarsky is a masterful writer. He has really captured the spirit of Spider-Man. One of my complaints is Spider-Man is kind of supposed to be this happy-go-lucky character. He kind of doubts himself because he's young, he's a little inexperienced. But, so some of the writers, though, take it too far. Like, I think that was the problem with One More Day series, was it was just a little too dark. And, of course, Spider Island was just dumb. I can't believe the new Spider-Man animated series adapted it. Maybe they just adapted it to get that story out of the way. But anyway, I am loving the series. It's really good. It shows kind of, even though Spider-Man still kind of has like some self-doubt, he's more mature, he's older, he's kind of, and some of the Avengers are starting to see him a little bit as an icon, which is pretty neat for Spider-Man. And I just want to say, I like Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, long title, but I like it because it's kind of fresh, it's kind of original. Of course, it's another New York alien invasion, which is not like we've seen that before. But I do feel like this take on it is really good. I really like the idea of Peter Parker having a secret sister. I think that goes well. I feel like they're developing it in an appropriate way. I like it better than the Amazing Spider-Man. I think I said that on a vlog previously. I think that the series is doing a good job, and I can't wait to see what's in store with the series. All right, continuing on. I promised you Justice League issue 2, and here it is on the same episode. I wasn't going to make you wait, especially since issue 3 is about to come out. Now, into the totality, what the Justice League is code-naming this rift in the multiverse where energy and stuff is leaking out. There is a special, some sort of special thing coming from the source wall. For those of you who don't know what the source wall is, it's the barrier in the multiverse where all this knowledge exists and stuff. Superman trapped Darkseid inside it, I believe, during Final Crisis. All kinds of crazy stuff. So, we're going on, and I mentioned this in the previous one. This one, it's even more prominent. But look, it's all the Justice Leaguers from the Justice League Unlimited television show. Now, it would be remiss of me to point out that the show was just called Justice League in its first 2 seasons, but I'm calling it Justice League Unlimited just to avoid confusion with the comic book. Anyway, JLU was very popular among fans. Many of us were disappointed that it was canceled after only 4 seasons, and I really think this is DC Comics' way of saying, "Hey, we're honoring you." And Scott Snyder is a fantastic writer. One thing that's interesting is Luthor has somehow discovered a way to find other rifts in the multiverse, and as you can see, Jon Stewart he wasn't really featured that prominently in issue 1, but in issue 2, he's more prominent. Sinestro, one thing I'm not too fond of is instead of having the Fear Ring, Sinestro now has another ring, the Ultraviolet Spectrum. I'm like, golly, how many of these rings are there? I mean, you've got red for rage, you've got blue for hope, you've got green for will, you've got uh, indigo or whatever it is, and you've got violet, and you've got orange, and like what? How many white, black? How many spectrums are you going to put? It's just kind of it is kind of good. And now we're having an ultraviolet ring. It is kind of getting a little crazy in that regard. But outside of that, I did enjoy this. I like the new Legion of Doom. They do an interesting job. I like the new Hawkwoman outfit, and it's actually I should point out it's not this Hawkwoman is not Shiera Thal from JLU. It's Kendra Sanders, who she was Hawkman and Hawkwoman slash Hawkgirl have had like kind of a convoluted histories and backstories, and it's just kind of and so they're instead of doing the whole Thanagarian thing, they're using Kendra, who was a human in previous incarnations of the Justice League. She was a human who was able to get the powers of the Hawk people. So similar to Carter Hall, which I think now they're bringing back Carter Hall. And I actually liked Carter Hall's New 52 version. That was actually one thing in the New 52 I like. But DC Metals brought him back into the DC Rebirth universe, and so I did like that as well. And I think Justice League here is continuing on with this whole multiverse. It seems like this is going to be a theme now because we kind of see it in Doomsday Clock. We see it in Titans. We see it in Teen Titans. This idea of how the multiverse is coming together is pretty fascinating, pretty interesting. So I can't wait to see what the writers and artists over at DC Comics have for us. Okay, so this is the moment you've all been waiting for. Batman 48 and 49, The Best Man. So Joker has been running around. He's heard that Batman and Catwoman are going to get married. How is anyone's guess? But he's been running around, and he thinks that he should be invited to the wedding. Now, I'm glad they're kind of backing off this whole thing where Joker is like in love with Batman or whatever. That's so weird and bizarre. I get the obsessed thing, but come on. Yeah. Anyway, it starts off. I'm not going to get too much into this because, like I said, it's kind of spoiler filled if I dive a little bit. But I love this scene. So Joker basically, what happens is he takes this wedding hostage. So he wants Batman to show up and invite him to the wedding, and of course Batman obliges, and Batman kind of engages in a duel with him, and it's very interesting. A lot of people who are Batman readers don't like Tom King's writing. I've never met the man personally, but I actually enjoy Tom King. Now, I do understand coming off great writers like Grant Morrison and Scott Snyder, Tom King can seem a little bit like he's forcing things. For instance, issue 50 is a big deal, you know, because pretty much the wedding, Batman and Catwoman's wedding. But it's still to get to that point, he had to do a lot of filler stories that just weren't that interesting. Like I didn't he did one where I reviewed it previously where this boy is obsessed with Bruce Wayne and wants his parents to die so he can be like Bruce Wayne. Wasn't really that entertaining. I didn't really think it was that interesting, but I did like the previous one, which was Booster Gold giving Batman the worst wedding gift you could possibly imagine. Go back and watch my review of that. So we're two the best man, and like I said, I like Tom King's interpretation of the Joker. Sometimes I feel like writers, in their efforts to make Batman, I'm trying to think, almost like they want to make it a psychological drama, but they end up just making it a slasher film. and the Joker's not really well balanced. That's actually why I don't really care for Alan Moore's Batman writings. Like I know I'm in the minority, but I'm not a fan of the Killing Joke. I just think that I don't think he took Joker too far that in the sense that Joker wouldn't do the things that he does in the Killing Joke, but kind of giving a backstory, making him seem a little bit more sympathetic, and all that nonsense. I just thought it would, if it had been an Elseworld, maybe I would have liked it better. But when DC decided to make it canon, and they destroyed the best Batgirl, I'm so glad they brought her back. But Tom King to me does a well balanced Joker. He did that amazingly in the War of Jokes and Riddles, which I reviewed ad nauseum. I think he did a good job with this. I think he's doing a good job building up the wedding between Batman and Catwoman. The one thing that's a little odd is they're not really saying if Bruce Wayne is going to marry Selena Kyle. It's all about Batman and Catwoman. And I'm curious if that has something to do with Tom King's interpretation. He sees Bruce Wayne as the mask, not Batman. So we'll just have to wait and find out. Definitely pick up these two issues. They're very good. They're very interesting. The first one is Batman and the Joker. There is one scene I didn't really care for. If you know me, you'll probably guess what it is. And it's at the very end. And then this one, it's Joker having a showdown with Catwoman and expressing how they feel about the Dark Knight. So pick them up at your local comic book store and enjoy it. Okay, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, if there's a comic book series you would like me to review, let me know in the comments section below. I would love to review something. Hey, even if it's older, if you're like, hey, Jacob, would you review Todd McFarlane's run on Spider-Man? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm always looking for new comic books to read. Marvel and DC are my favorite. I know it's kind of mainstream of me to say, but they are my favorites. Batman is my favorite superhero. Spider-Man is my second favorite superhero. So they kind of keep me grounded in those two universes. So anyway, give me a like. Again, let me know what you think in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe to StudioJake for more amazing content. I've got movie reviews. I have cool interviews. I have some amazing people on. I've had Robert Davi on. I've had comic book writer Mike Barron on. I've had Michael Knowles on from the Michael Knowles Show, where I used to be a panelist. I've had Ali Stuckey on. All kinds of incredible people. So definitely subscribe for all of that great stuff and ring that little bell so you get the notifications. Follow me on Twitter at RealJacobAiry. Instagram is real.jacob.airy. Facebook is author Jacob Airy. And of course, you can find my political writings on dailywire.com. And don't forget to check out my blog. It's very simple. It's jacobairy.blog. I've got graphic novel reviews. I've got all kinds of comic book and nerd type stuff. I talk about Dragon Ball Z. I talk about comic books. I rate superheroes' costumes. I have a top 10 best Superman costumes, top 10 Black Panther, top 20 Batman. So definitely check those out. Thank you so much for watching. New videos every Sunday and Wednesday. I'll see you next time right here on StudioJake.